You know, in the 1970s, people were wondering why MASH started to become the number one comedy in North America, especially Canada. There was a lot of reasons, obviously the tight scripts, the good acting, but there was a lot of episodes that were about the war but not about the war. Now, this episode probably ranks as one of the most delicious or potentially delicious episodes of the third seasons. Third season is called, of all things, Adam's Ribs, which could be a double meaning, but we'll get into a little bit of the promotion. Now, it's 11 episodes of the third season and 59th overall, which officially I think put him in syndication value because 59 episodes was kind of the over-under of 70, so this put him over to syndication. Now, in this episode, it's basically a lull in the action. People in MASH are getting fed up of the redundancy of the mess hall. Now, they're getting the same meal choices day after day. Hawkeye and Trapper John are talking about it. You go to the mess hall and you know what's coming. Liver or fish. Now, he goes on a big soliloquy. Hawkeye said, I've eaten a river of liver, and he said, the only time I can make love to myself when I'm smothered in, smothered in onions, and he does like a mantra, almost a dance, we want something else. We want something else. Well, if you ever eaten in a really shitty high school cafeteria or college cafeteria on Thursday or Friday, it's the same meal every Thursday, same meal every Friday. So he, how MASH is third season, and, for the first three seasons, actually, Trapper John and Hawkeye come up with a scheme. He decides that he wants takeout. They tried to get a frozen turkey shipped to the camp, but it was failed due to a bureaucratic mix-up. He remembers some really delicious ribs he once had at a restaurant in Chicago, but can't recall its name. He believes it was near Dearborn Street train station, a very important railway area in Chicago. Now, Henry helps out by giving the telephone number for the station, and Hawkeye has a raider call in so he can get the restaurant's name. It's called Adam's Ribs, which is a great name for, any type of barbecue place. Now, Hawkeye orders 40 pounds of ribs and a gallon of sauce, but he and Trapper find himself at a loss as to how to have them delivered to the 4077th. Of course, Trapper John has a great idea. The first try unsuccessfully to persuade Klinger to have one of his relatives ship the order, but Trapper does remember a woman he once knew in Chicago. He calls her and persuades her to pick up the order and put it on a plane, labeled as medical supplies bound for South Korea. So he basically says to her, it's practice for surgery. Now, the order arrives at the supply depot, but regulations prevent it from being delivered to the camp. And part of the plot, too, he forgot to order coleslaw. Sacrilege. Because everybody knows with chicken or ribs, coleslaw is an essential. Now, Hawkeye and Trapper visit the depot and negotiate with a stubborn supply sergeant who lives not far from Chicago and loves the food at Adam's Ridge. And allegedly, he says in there, he's from the hometown of Blues Brothers, Joliet. Once he tells him what the order is, he agrees to release it in exchange for a portion of the ribs and sauce. He finally gets the ribs and sauce. They go back to camp. It's prepared. He's getting ready to enjoy his meal of spare ribs, but is interrupted by a fresh batch of incoming wounded soldiers. He protests as Trapper and Henry pull him away from the table to get ready for surgery. Now, allegedly, why this episode was great for a lot of people, it was one of the few episodes of the third season that weren't weighed down by Frank Burns and Margaret Houlihan, because, when they were on, they were having their, 3 or 4 minutes of scheming about the opposite side of the fence. Now, the rib restaurant discussed in the episode is not based on any specific Chicago restaurant. As Larry Gelbert explained, part of it had to do with the city's hog butcher for the world reputation, but it was a conceit, a homage to a place it can never forget. Most places across North America have a restaurant or a rib place. Like I used to have, the Canton Chinese food restaurant up home, the Fad in Dalhousie, Danny Burger and Batters, Culligan's Canteen, and Jacket River. We all have an Adam's Ribs. Now, the supply sergeant actually makes the mistakes of pronouncing Joliet as Joliet, a mistake a person from Joliet would not make. So, but you got the three main attractions of MASH. They're fighting against the system. They're trying to make their time off from the operating room as efficient as possible. See, the only thing you have in, like, when you're not working as a medical professional is eating, drinking, and blanking. You pretty well know what blanking is. And you see the Hawkeye character, but we're seeing a Hawkeye character. You think he's just sexually, aggressive, but he has a great taste for good food. But that mantra, we want something else. How many times have we heard rumors of this song being sung verbatim in calves and mess halls, and like our Beaver Foods at DRHS? There's many a time I think we sang that song in the cafeteria, especially during the mustard ham meals and the big plate of gravy and ketchup and fries that seem to be, no pun intended, a rehash from the last week. So, but Adam's Ribs, try to find the unedited version. When I'm saying this, some episodes of syndication are chopped down to 18 minutes, but a syndicated episode should be available on most of the Canadian networks that they carry it, and the unsyndicated uncut episode will be around 24 minutes. And the episode is so good I can smell it already. Everybody likes a good set of ribs. For me, it's Chinese spare ribs for obvious reasons, because the boneless are just excellent. So, anyway, no wonder we were hungry after watching MASH. By the way, MASH was shown at 7 o'clock Eastern Time on the Maritimes, which in the States would be Jeopardy hour. MASH was shown an hour earlier, so we had an extra hour to eat most Sunday nights, or sometimes on Mondays. Anyway, have a good evening. Bye.